We spent a good chunk of the show talking Lions, Victory Monday. We talked on Sunday, a little nervous energy from the fan base. That was not a game you needed to be nervous about. That was a no-doubter. What did you take out of it?
Man, the defense, obviously, phenomenal. I certainly didn't expect that. Especially with how many missing guys they had. And Atlanta, first couple games, averaging, I think it was 180 on the ground throughout the first two games. That was just outstanding. Offensively, probably a C-plus type of game. They kind of hit a couple ruts there. I think it was 5 straight possessions there in the second and third quarter. One of them, another interception. But the defense, man, they hung on. Some great individual performances, too. I know you guys talked about Brian Branch. That guy he's a football player, man. Like, he knows where to be. He's physical. He can cover guys. He can hit guys. 3 TFLs, coming from the position that he plays is outstanding. The defense as a whole, though, defensive line, I thought made tremendous improvements. The interior specifically, Benito, Aleem, I know both of them got a sack on some play-action passes, but making a difference, right? And, man, it was a complete defensive dominating performance in my mind. And I know the big question a lot of us had was, hey, what's Bijan going to look like compared to Gibbs? And, that's going to be a conversation that is going to be, it's going to be going on for a long time comparing those two guys.
Bijan run?
Yeah. And, man, I think it was pretty clear who the better player was, at least yesterday, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, especially in the second half, started making some plays. But the young guys they have, man, it's just Branch, Laporta, Gibbs. Jack Campbell playing a lot more yesterday. It's just that's encouraging, man. It's encouraging when you get that type of production from your young players. It's encouraging the depth that you have. Missing, what was it? I think 5 starters yesterday, and guys don't even blink. They come in and just take care of business. You're down at one point to your third right tackle. Sorsdahl, who's been playing guard most of training camp,
right?
And he comes in and plays. I think it was 35 plays, and nothing really goes off track. He does a good enough job. I think it just says a lot about the depth that they have on this team. This team last year, or obviously 2 years, they couldn't handle losing that many guys.
Well, TJ,
right? It would go from bad to ugly. This year, it kind of seems like, hey, man, next player up, let's go.
2 years ago, they couldn't win with their starters, let alone the backups.
Right, yeah, and that's where, it's just, you think about how far they've come with the depth that they've built on this team. They can sustain the couple injuries that they have, and hopefully, Coach kind of hit at it yesterday. Hopefully, a couple of the guys that were out yesterday were close to playing. Hopefully, you get them back for Thursday, because this is going to be a big game.
Guards kick out, they can play tackle, right? It's no big deal.
Yeah, tackle's a breeze, man. You can put anybody out there. Right tackle, especially. Yeah. But the offense was
I love you, buddy.
You saw some, and even offensively, I saw some things that were really like the deep shots.
Yeah.
That's something we talked about the first couple of weeks, didn't really see. I think the only time we saw it was the flea flicker against Seattle, right? And even the first one they took to Raymond, I've watched that replay probably 10 times now. And I think that
still doesn't catch it, does he?
I think he doesn't catch it, but I think it's a really well thrown ball. It
didn't
look like he overthrew him. It looked like maybe Khalif just kind of lost it for a minute, and you know what I mean. But it was a well thrown ball. And then a couple plays later, they come back and hit the deep shot to Laporta. That's something that, man, this offense, you feel like if they can start developing that and not just relying on the underneath routes and the quick slants and the crossing routes. That's gonna open up the playbook a whole lot more.
Well, and one of the knocks, obviously, on Jared Goff coming into the season was, can he really, if Jameson Williams utilizes his speed when he comes back, can Jared Goff even capitalize on that? And I think we've seen him overthrow a couple of guys. You want to make sure that those become connections, but I think over time, and hopefully by over time, I'm talking about over the next couple of weeks, you find a way to convert those into completions and big plays for your offense.
Yeah, and it's going to open up the run game a lot more.
Yeah.
And the run game wasn't bad yesterday, but, man, there was still a lot left out there. Couple of times running backs, getting one-on-ones up to the safety and just not making a guy miss, or, kind of reading the wrong play. Hey, it's a kick out. They try to bounce it. It's like, man, there's still a lot of meat left on that bone, right? But I think the way that they came out in the second half, especially that last scoring drive they had, man, you felt like they needed to do that because it was getting way too uncomfortable of It's a 10-point game. Come on, it's just a matter of time before something breaks or kind of cracks on defense, and you let them back in the game. The offense steps up at the perfect time and goes down and scores and really kind of sealed that thing. But I was still getting a little nervous there for a while, for even looking at the stats, and it felt like the Lions were, kicking their ass most of the game. You look up and it's like, God, still a 10-point game, guys. Like, come on, let's not make this any closer than it has to be, right? But they stepped up and made the plays when they had to have them.
Goff throws that pick, still a 10-point game. You go, oh boy. Defense immediately gets a stop.
Yeah.
And then they have their best rushing drive of the game. Offensive line helps get them all the way down the field. Like, that's the difference, I think, with this team as opposed to maybe 2 years ago, 10 years ago, all the other teams that have let us down. When something bad happens, they don't wilt in that moment. Like, that Goff interception was a bad throw. He has not had many bad throws yet this season, and they immediately responded both sides of the ball. Like, TJ, that part is different, right?
For sure. Yeah, I think so. And you saw that really during the Kansas City game, I think was the first time we saw it. Kind of a similar game. Defense just kept making stop after stop after stop, and offense finally got it going. Now we saw the bad side of it last week. When the offense hit some ruts and you turn the ball over and you go from up 4 to all of a sudden you're down 10. Right?
But even then, they responded with a touchdown.
Then they got to overtime.
You still respond. You still get it right. But that's what I'm saying is that this is probably the most complete game I think I've seen this team play under Campbell. And even though they scored 20 points, it's not nothing to go crazy about offensively. But you talk about the three aspects and just picking each other up. And hey, when one the offense is struggling, man, let's just keep going out there and doing our job. I mean, that's something that they've really come a long way with as a team.